Forever haunted, soldier left to die in woods until two girls say, "We will save you," at midnight. The moon hung high, a silver coin glinting in the deep, dark sky, casting eerie shadows that twisted and danced among the trees. The wind whispered like ghosts through the branches, and the air felt thick heavy with unspoken secrets and unfulfilled dreams. It was midnight, the hour when haunting memories slip out from their hiding spots, lurking in the corners of the mind, ready to pounce. Somewhere deep in the woods, a soldier lay forgotten, his breath shallow, pulse faint, left to rot by the very people he had defended. Left to die. It seemed unreal, it tore at the heart. What had brought him to this cursed place? Then, it happened, a sudden rustle, a crack of a twig. Two girls appeared, silhouettes against the shadowy backdrop of towering pines. They emerged with eyes wide, filled with a mix of fear and determination. What were they doing here, in the middle of nowhere? It felt magical yet terrifying. Were they connected to the soldier? Did they hear his silent calls for help? Their hearts drummed loudly in their chests, sinking with an unseen force. One girl, with hair like spun gold, bravely stepped forward, her small hands trembling like leaves in the wind. The other, dark-haired and fierce, glanced around, her senses sharp. It was as if danger simmered just out of sight, a predator lying in wait. The soldier stirred, his body a map of pain and disbelief. Could he trust these girls? Or was this a cruel twist of fate, a ghostly trick played by the very woods that wanted him to stay lost? They approached slowly, cautiously. Did they know what danger lurked there? Did they understand the darkness closing in around them? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the girls knelt beside him, the air shifted. The taste of fear filled his mouth, metallic and sharp, but deep down, something stirred, a thrum of hope. They were here. They had said they would save him. But the woods, oh, the woods were alive. Sounds echoed, rustling leaves, whispers that seemed to breathe within the very essence of the trees. He could feel eyes watching, judgment lingering around them. What were those forces that watched, and why did they care if he lived or died? Could these girls brave the shadows that surrounded them? They were on the brink of something magnificent, or something fatal. The stakes were high, the clock ticking, and time was running out. He could only await the next breath, the next heartbeat, the next move that might lead them all down a path from which there might be no return. Would they make it out alive? Would they be swallowed by the night? As the woods held their breath, so did he. The soldier's pulse quickened as the girls hovered nervously around him. Their breaths came in intent little puffs, almost synchronized, but the silence felt heavy, like the weight of a mountain pressing down. He needed to say something, anything, yet all he could manage was a croak. The sound reverberated weakly through the thick forest, swallowed almost instantly by the oppressive darkness. "Can you hear me?" the golden-haired girl whispered, her voice trembling. She leaned closer, brushing the dirt from his face, and her touch ignited a flicker of recognition in his foggy mind. He was not alone. But before he could muster a nod, the sound returned, a low growl, lingering like smoke in the air. They froze, all three of them, as that sound slithered from behind the gnarled trees, taunting them. "Go!" the dark-haired girl yelled. Panic shredded her calm demeanor. She glanced back toward the shadows, her eyes darting as if seeking an escape. The soldier wanted to grab her wrist, to tell her to stay close. But his body betrayed him, paralyzed by both pain and fear. The golden-haired girl turned sharply, her determination replaced with dread. "What is that?" she gasped, eyes wide, searching the darkness like it was a monster pulling her away. He could see it then, the outlines of something shifting among the thickets, moving slowly as if it were savoring the fear in the air. The soldier felt his throat tighten, a knot of terror coiling. Whatever lurked there wanted them, wanted him, and this newfound companionship was barely lighting their way. "Look, we need to get out of here," the soldier finally managed, his voice hoarse. They had to move, but how? A branch snapped and the growl echoed, louder this time, angry, almost hungry. The golden-haired girl yanked at the soldier's shoulder, pulling him up. A fresh wave of pain shot through him, but he gritted his teeth and pushed through it, driven by the fear and adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Follow me," the dark-haired girl shouted, and they stumbled forward, breaking free from the dust and despair of their surroundings. They moved with urgency, hearts pounding in sync, but fear lashed at their heels, urging them to flee faster. They ran deeper into the woods, branches clawing at their clothes, roots clutching at their feet. The soldier felt himself faltering, but he couldn't slow down, not now. The girls leaned on their determination as if it were a tangible lifeline against the oppressive darkness. Suddenly, the golden-haired girl halted, pointing at something gleaming. It was a silver object half buried beneath the leaves. "Look!" Not waiting for the others, she reached in, her fingers brushing against cold steel. It was a knife, sharp, glinting menacingly in the moonlight. A shiver coursed through the soldier. The weapon beckoned danger, yet offered a glimmer of protection. Would it be enough? A growl erupted again, almost deafening now, echoing off the unseen walls of their fear. They had to decide. Fight or flee. "Are you ready?" the dark-haired girl asked, gripping the knife tightly, her eyes fierce. They all knew that standing still meant certain death, but just as they readied themselves, the earth trembled beneath them. Trees quivered, leaves fluttered like mad. There was something else hidden, waiting for the right moment to strike. "Run!" With that shout, they dashed off into the ever-faltering light, leaving the shadows behind momentarily, their hearts racing with dread. Where would they find refuge? And when would the woods unleash whatever horrors waited in the dark? The soldier's mind reeled. He hadn't asked for this fight, yet somehow it was upon him. Their only chance rested in one question: could they escape the woods, or would they succumb to the darkness forever? Each step echoed in the chilling air, and as they pressed deeper, a new realization dawned: nothing would ever be the same again. They had woken something that would not rest until it had them. The woods were only beginning to tell their story. What would it reveal next? Branches whipped against their skin as they sprinted, the night alive with rustling, whispers, and that dreadful growl that seemed to pulse with every frantic heartbeat. Fear hung thick in the air, almost palpable, and the soldier struggled to keep pace as the girls dragged him forward. "Where do we go?" the golden-haired girl panted, her voice edged with terror. Her eyes darted between the paths through the trees, searching for a flicker of hope amidst the darkness. "Anywhere but here," he gasped, forcing himself to focus. They had to keep moving, but every step felt like running through quicksand, the weight of dread pinning him down. He glanced back, heart pounding louder than ever. What was chasing them? What was about to pounce? Behind them, the growl changed, a sharp sound like a snapping twig followed by a sound like a distant sniper shot. Panic clawed at him. Was it close enough to feel the heat of his breath? Was it waiting for them to falter? "Keep running!" the dark-haired girl shouted, her fingers white-knuckled around the hilt of the knife. They broke into a clearing, moonlight spilling down like a freezing splash of water. The sharp relief of the light momentarily blinded them, but they didn't dare stop. In the heart of the clearing stood a large, ancient oak tree, its massive trunk twisted and gnarled. Its roots sprawled across the earth, like arms stretching into the earth. A glimmer caught the soldier's eye, something nestled against the roots, half hidden from view. "What is it?" the golden-haired girl whispered, her voice trembling as they halted. "Check it out," he urged, heart still racing. Could it help them? "Whatever it is, it might be our last shot." The dark-haired girl approached, knife clutched tight, as if ready to ward off the encroaching shadows. She crouched low, brushing away dirt, revealing a small, rusted box. It resonated with an unsettling energy, whispering secrets of a time long forgotten. "Open it!" the soldier demanded, a surge of desperation driving him. The ground beneath began to tremble again, the trees swaying as if the forest were alive with hunger, longing to consume them all. "No, wait!" The golden-haired girl halted her friend. "What if it's a trap? Or a weapon?" the soldier urged, fear edging his words. The dark-haired girl looked up, fear dancing in her eyes. "It could be anything. We have to choose now." Suddenly, the trees erupted around them, branches twisting like skeletal fingers. Leaves rustled in a frenzy, the wind howling, and a guttural roar echoed as the thing from the shadows emerged, wretched and wild, eyes gleaming with madness. "Run!" the soldier yelled again, but the girls frozen at the sight of the monstrous creature creeping ever closer, its breath hot in the night. "Open it!" the dark-haired girl shouted, eyes wide with panic. She wrenched the box open, and a shimmering light erupted, illuminating the shadowed grove. A blade nestled within the box gleamed like dawn, casting away the edges of night. "What is this?" she gasped, awe mixing with dread. The creature recoiled, snarling as the light sliced through the dark, but it didn't retreat for long. It lunged, its jagged teeth gleaming against the moonlight. The soldier leapt forward, spurred by a primal instinct to protect. What had stirred them, however, was no simple predator. It was a nightmare born from their fears and uncertainties. "Get back!" he shouted, positioning himself between the girls and the beast as it rushed closer. In that heartbeat, with life and death hanging in the balance, they all exchanged looks, questions racing, uncertainty lingering. Would the light of the box be enough? And what would it reveal about the darkness that had ensnared them? The soldier's decision caught within him like a splinter. They were faced not just with survival, but with a choice that would bind them forever. A frantic glint clashed with the shadow that loomed in front of him. And as the creature lunged again, threatening to devour their hopes and perhaps their souls, their fates would inevitably entwine in that single moment of tenacity. Could they harness the light's power, or would they be condemned to succumb to the darkness, their screams swallowed forever by the woods? The creature lunged, jaws snapping shut inches from the soldier's arm. He felt the rush of air, felt the primal dread settle low in his stomach like lead. The blade. It was right there, shimmering against the night, filled with promises of power and safety. "Grab the knife!" he shouted, urgency piercing his voice like a scream. His heart raced, adrenaline surging as he risked a glance back at the girls. The dark-haired girl's hands trembled, whether from fear or the weight of choice, he couldn't tell. Now he needed them alive. They were their only chance. With a deep breath, she lunged forward, snatching the blade from the ground. The moment her fingers curled around the hilt, the light grew more fervent, glimmering, pulsing as if alive. The grotesque creature recoiled again, a shadow recoiling from fire. "Step back!" she yelled to the soldier, her voice fierce and firm, transforming fear into resolve. She rose, the knife held high like a beacon, and he could see the fire igniting in her eyes. The creature hesitated. It hadn't expected resistance, and for a heartbeat, the world froze. Theirs was a standoff beneath the watchful gaze of the moon. The soldier felt the tension in the air shift. "Come on," he urged softly, as if coaxing a wild beast back to calmness. But the creature, regaining its ferocity, lunged again, its desperate growl vibrating through the ground. The girls didn't flinch. They were ready now. The dark-haired girl swung the blade down, and for a heart-stopping moment, time elongated. Then a flash. The blade caught the moonlight, a streak of brilliance slicing through the dark. It connected with the creature's taut skin, emitting a shrieking howl like nails on stone. Blood splattered across the forest floor, dark and thick. The soldier's heart leaped. They were winning. They had something that could drive away the darkness, something that might allow them to escape. But the howl quickly morphed into a sinister growl, and suddenly the air in the clearing felt thick, charged with something malicious. This was not just a transformation, it was an awakening. "What's happening?" the golden-haired girl gasped, her face twisted in fear as she clutched the soldier's arm, grounding herself to him. The dark-haired girl swung the blade again, but the creature now infused with rage didn't just retreat. It descended, limbs contorting, towering even taller, its form shifting grotesquely as it swelled, muscles rippling like a storm ready to explode. "I don't know," the soldier shouted, panic surging through him. "Keep focusing on the light. We have to chase it back." With a fierce cry, she lunged once more, the knife tracing a line of pure energy. The creature reeled, thrashing in agony, yet it surged forward with an intensity that shook the ground beneath their feet. "The box!" he shouted suddenly, the answer coming to him like a bolt of lightning. "We need to." Another howl, sharper this time, cut through the night. The dark-haired girl dropped her gaze to the box, the light from the blade illuminating an inscription at its base that had been hidden beneath layers of grime, a series of runes that swirled in a language older than the forest. "Change it. The box has to help." The girls exchanged frantic glances, doubts flooding their minds even as the beast lunged in for another attack. The air crackled, the woods filled with a chaos that threatened to consume them all. "Quick!" the soldier's shout echoed in the clearing. "What does it say?" "We can't let it win." The dark-haired girl knelt by the box, heart pounding. She could feel the flames of fear licking at her heels, but she wouldn't falter. The creature lunged again, enshrining them in its shadow. "Just tell me what you see." She leaned closer, deciphering the runes, the words blurring into focus as reality twisted. And as she read, she stumbled upon a chilling realization: this was not just a fight for survival, they were faced with a choice, the consequence of binding themselves to ancient powers they barely understood. "Wait!" she exclaimed, her voice breaking through the din. "If we finish this spell." "Finish what?" The soldier's voice was a harsh whisper, edging on desperation. The creature's jaws opened wide, revealing a darkness that could swallow souls whole. And in that heart-stopping moment, they all realized their decision would not just seal their fates but could erase the very fabric of their reality. Could they step into the depths of the mystery, harness the power of the unknown, or would they succumb to the specters of their past, becoming part of the very fear they sought to escape? The creature loomed over them, its breath hot and foul, drowning them in dread. The soldier's heart thundered in his chest, pounding against the backdrop of muted cries and primal chaos. It felt like time stopped, the air thickening with the weight of the choices laid bare before them. The dark-haired girl's eyes were wide, a kaleidoscope of fear and determination. "Keep reading," the soldier urged, desperation clawing at his throat. He locked eyes with her, feeling a spark of hope flicker against the overwhelming shadow of the creature. As she read the words aloud, each syllable seemed to tear through the charged air, echoing the history of the woods, the rise and fall of ancient things. "Ancient spirits, heed my call." Her voice wavered, but she pressed on, a soldier on the battlefield of their fates. The runes glowed brighter, illuminating the grotesque features of the creature, revealing the fear lurking within those malevolent eyes. "Look!" the golden-haired girl shouted, "Point to the box. It's reacting." The energy from the knife was building, merging with the power of the ephemeral language. The creature shrieked, a sound so raw and primal that it shook the very earth beneath them, rattling bones and entombing hope under a shroud of fear. "Don't stop!" the soldier shouted, his voice barely piercing the deluge of madness. "Finish the spell. We can do this." He sensed a shift, an unsettling current that pulled at the edges of reality. With resolve, the dark-haired girl pressed her palm against the box, tracing the runes with her fingertip. Each touch sent jolts of energy surging through her, the blade vibrating at her side as if sharing in her determination. "Slay the shadows," she pushed through, the words spilling out of her, each one fueled by the fire within her. Bring forth the light. The creature recoiled again, its enormous body shifting and writhing as if the spell threatened to unravel its very essence. With every utterance, the air seemed to crackle, and the fury in those predatory eyes turned to something akin to fear. Hold it there. The soldier stepped forward, feeling a surge of courage flow through him as he held his arms wide, harnessing his own desperation to protect. We're not backing down. Not now. But as she reached the final line of the incantation, the atmosphere twisted, growing heavy with something palpable and alive. The ground trembled, pulses of dark energy spiraling toward the creature, and at that moment, the dark-haired girl looked up, terror mixing with shock. It's too powerful. She cried, an almost pleading lilt to her voice. What if we can't control it? A wave of panic washed over the soldier. We have to trust it. He replied, heart racing faster than the thoughts racing through his mind. Suddenly, the creature lunged forward, lunging like a shadow monster from their worst nightmares. The girls barely managed to sidestep its attack. In that cataclysmic moment, the blade and the runes aligned. A pulse of blinding light erupted from both, a transcendent burst that threatened to engulf everything. Now! Finish it! He shouted, feeling exhilaration and terror twist together. The final words of the spell erupted from the dark-haired girl like a dam breaking awake in the dawn. The light expanded, enveloping the creature in a blinding halo, and in that moment, it all coalesced: their fear, their hopes, their purpose. But just as the creature howled one last time, the light fractured, revealing something deep within, an amalgam of despair and darkness, the world around them distorted, colors popping and vibrating in a cacophony of chaos. What is happening? The golden-haired girl screamed, her face pale with fright. I don't know. He yelled back, instinct surging to the fore as he gripped the girl's shoulders. Stay together. Whatever happens, we face it as one. As the veil of light surged toward the creature and the tremors enveloped them, the roots of the forest twisted and rose, capturing the reality around them. And just as they felt themselves drawn into the light, a single clear thought pierced the turmoil. What if escaping this beast meant stepping into something far worse? But there was no turning back now. Would the next choice be redemption or destruction? One thing was clear: they were on the brink of a revelation that could shatter everything. Hold on. As they barreled toward the unknown, the line separating power from peril blurred into a chilling darkness, revealing the true face of fear. What awaited them on the other side would be more than a confrontation, a reckoning with a hidden truth that could change everything they knew. The light swallowed them whole, an immeasurable force spiraling into the depths of their souls. The darkness was not what they expected, rather, it wrapped around them, tantalizing and frigid, like fingers tracing ice along their spines. He felt it first, this sharp prickle of sensation, as if tentacles of shadow clawed at his mind, trying to drag him into a void. His breath caught. Panic surged through his veins, chilling him deeper than the forest's winter air. The dark-haired girl gasped beside him, and for a fleeting moment, their fear connected, binding them tighter than any incantation could. Stay focused. He shouted, though his voice felt so small against the immense weight of the nothingness surrounding them. We've come this far. Desperation crept into his tone as he struggled to keep the dread at bay. The golden-haired girl squeezed his hand, grounding him, her grip a lifeline in the turbulent sea of shadows. We can get through this, she said, her voice trembling but unwavering. It ignited a refusal to yield deep within him, a flicker he clung to. Inside the swirling darkness, shapes began to emerge, distorted echoes of memories and fears. Faces twisted in torment, dark reflections of their pasts, whispered accusations that sent shivers racing down his bones. He recognized the haunted looks, faces of those he'd lost, voices that had long been silenced, now unleashed against him. Let them go, he whispered to himself, shoving the burden back. They aren't here. But the shadows swirled faster, and an apparition rose before him, a figure wreathed in darkness, the creature. Its monstrous form shifted and distorted, as if the very air around it had morphed to give it shape. A low, hungry growl reverberated through the void, vibrating against his bones, gnawing at his courage. Take the power. It hissed, a chilling caress against the fabric of his mind. Accept it, and you shall reign. No. He replied, each syllable forged from pure defiance. But for every word of strength, a dozen doubts gnawed at him. What if this shadow was all there was? Suddenly, a warm glow sparked from the dark-haired girl, her hands still tracing the runes. The light pulsed, a comforting rhythm in the chaos, pushing against the oppressive darkness. We can still fight it. She shouted, filled with fierce determination. The vibrant brilliance around her fought against the malevolence, pushing the shadows back. Can you feel it? The golden-haired girl added, her eyes wide as she connected with the surge. It's your fear that gives it power. A jolt of courage smashed against his chest like a tidal wave. We've got this. The soldier clasped both girls' hands, forming a circle, drawing strength from their bond. Together. They anchored themselves in the fading glow of the incantation, the darkness drawing back, howling in frustration. The creature echoed their every move, recoiling as if the bond they decreated was a shield against its malicious intent. With every breath, every heartbeat, they lifted the weight of fear, transforming it into a defiant roar. As the shadows convulsed, a shocking realization struck him. The more there are to fight it, he began, the weaker it gets. We can turn this around. That flicker of hope spurred them forward, and as they focused their combined energies into a radiant burst, the creature shrieked in agony, the sound slicing through the air with sheer terror. But just as victory seemed within reach, a rumble broke through the harmony of their resolve. The ground beneath them trembled ominously, a fierce shudder that threatened to split the very earth. They shared a glance. What now? Suddenly, the darkness thickened. It won't let go, the dark-haired girl exclaimed. And then, a revelation struck like lightning. What if this isn't just a battle against it? He shouted, thoughts racing. What if it's all been a test? We need to confront the truth behind this creature, not just fight it. As if answering a challenge, the shadows twisted, swirling into a cyclone of darkness, threatening to engulf them. Understanding surged through him. Body tense, he turned to the girls, whispering urgently, we need to find the truth hidden in the darkness before it consumes us. Are you ready? Their determination mirrored his, binding them as they braced for the oncoming storm. Together, they stepped toward the ominous swirl, ready to uncover the hidden secrets that could either save or damn them all. But lurking in the depths was one question that haunted their every step. What if the truth they uncovered held a power darker than the creature itself? The darkness surged, an ever-thickening fog that wrapped around them, pulling at their thoughts like a predator stalking its prey. He could feel the weight of despair pressing against his chest, a heavy reminder of everything they risked. With a deep breath, he squeezed the girl's hands tighter. Keep your focus. The creature feeds on our fear. The golden-haired girl nodded, her eyes steady, filled with a bright determination that flickered against the shadows. Inside that swirling void, he recognized fragments of his own past. The laughter of friends lost too soon, the haunting whispers of promises unfulfilled, each echo a reminder of vulnerability. Panic began bubbling in his throat. We can't let it win, he urged. We've got to dig deeper. The dark-haired girl's voice cut through the haze. Do you hear it? She said, breathless but unwavering. The whispers are turning into something else. He strained his ears against the tumult. Indeed, the whispers transformed into a muted chant, rhythmic and almost mechanical. One reminds the other. What does that mean? The golden-haired girl asked, confusion knitting her brow. He took a step closer to the thickening shadows. I think it's showing us a path, he said, his heart racing. These shadows are memories we need to acknowledge. What if they're warnings? As they pressed in together, the shadows pulsated, drawing nearer, warping around them in a close embrace. The creature's growl returned, a rumbling hunger that seemed to mock their resolve. Yet the whispers now sounded like words, fragmented yet discernible: embrace the truth, take flight. With the girls beside him, he tightened his grip again. He could sense the heat rising around them, the heart of their collective strength igniting in the void. We have to face it, face our truths. We must own our fears, or they will consume us. A surge of energy crackled in the air as the third girl began to resonate with his words, her voice climbing higher. Together we are stronger. Our truths are our weapons. In that moment, the shadows recoiled as if hit by an unseen force. Beneath them, the ground shook with a desperate reverberation, splintering cracks forming like angry veins. "Don't stop!" he shouted. "Keep pushing. We have to break through the illusion." An awful roar echoed through the darkness, a banshee wail that made his bones rattle. The creature seemed to loom larger, its figure now shifting to encompass their fears. It took on the twisted shapes of betrayals, losses, and regrets that haunted him. The darkness poured into his mind, threatening to drown him with memories he buried too deep. "No!" he bellowed against the encroaching nightmare. "You don't dictate my fate. I choose my truth." Around him, the girls mirrored his defiance. "We choose our truth," they cried in unison, their voices a harmonious shield thrumming against dread. With a rush, the shadows began to recede. Inch by inch, they peeled back from his consciousness, a retreating tide. The creature faltered, vibrating with fury, its form flickering as if wavering between existence and non-existence, but just as victory seemed tangible, a deafening silence enveloped them, the echoes of their triumph swallowed whole by a new, terrifying presence. Shadows curled back to expose a sliver of light ahead, inviting yet menacing. "Look!" the dark-haired girl exclaimed, pointing toward the luminescent brink. "It's a glimpse of what lies beyond, but will we be able to hold on to our courage?" He felt the warmth of the light beckoning, an unearthly allure that clawed at their instincts. The terror rallied in his chest, squaring against the hope flickering in their hearts. What if the truth we find there is the very reason the creature exists? He pondered, even as he stepped forward. With every inch gained toward the light, he could sense the creature's struggles shifting, now desperate and yearning. The question gnawed at him, echoing in the back of his mind: could their next step bring them salvation, or unleash something far more horrifying? "Together?" he asked, glancing back at the girls. "Always," they replied, voices echoing expectation. They stood before the light, hearts racing, courage and dread intertwined. As the shadows writhed behind them, revealing a secret doorway into the unknown, he couldn't shake the feeling that what they found on the other side would alter everything. But the biggest question lingered: were they ready to face the very truth that had the power to either save or shatter their lives forever? The moment they stepped toward the light, a shocking pulse reverberated through the air. It felt both electric and alive, wrapping around them like an invisible ribbon, pulling them forward. The soft glow cast shadows behind them, showing the lengths they had just traversed, the dark places they fought to escape. As they crossed into the light, sensations flooded in warmth against their skin, an airiness that lifted their spirits. Hope bloomed, but it didn't overshadow the heaviness still locked in their chests. He glanced back, half expecting the creature to emerge from the darkness, but all that awaited them were whispers of the void they had escaped. "What is this place?" the golden-haired girl asked, her voice trembling with awe. In front of them stretched a vast landscape, vibrant yet eerie, filled with colors that seemed to defy reality. It was beautiful, unsettling, as though crafted from a fever dream where everything was possible yet nothing felt completely right. That he turned to the girls, their expressions mirroring a mixture of hope and doubt. "I think we're meant to confront what lies here." He stepped cautiously, the ground soft beneath his feet, like clouds beneath a hovering body, but as they moved deeper, the landscape shifted. Trees with twisted branches loomed overhead, casting long shadows. The sky rotated through shades of purple and red, swirling like a molten canvas. The beauty warped into something sinister. "Is this part of our truth?" The dark-haired girl breathed, looking up. Her voice shook as though she sensed the undercurrent of danger that lingered beneath the surface of the illusion. "Maybe it's a test," he replied, heart racing. "Whatever we see now, it's part of what we must face. We can't allow the creature to pull us back. This is our moment." Suddenly, out of the shadows, echoes of laughter surged. It was hauntingly familiar yet twisted, mocking them. He froze, feeling cold dread creep back in. "Shut it out," he urged, but the voices wrapped around him, whispering regrets, sowing seeds of doubt. "Remember, the ones you lost. They never came back, no," he yelled, shaking his head. "This is a deceit." He took a step forward, clenching his fists. "We're alive. The past doesn't bind us." But the laughter morphed into a cacophony, clamoring about what they had abandoned, urging them to recall their every failure, every fracture in their hearts. The golden-haired girl began to sway, her face paling. "Don't listen," he shouted, reaching for her hand. "Focus on me. On us. I feel them," she cried, tears spilling down her cheeks as her resolve wavered. "What if they're right? What if we can't escape what we carry? Let it go," he urged, squeezing her hand tightly, trying to anchor her amidst the storm of memory. "You are not alone in this." The ground beneath them trembled angrily as if the land itself was enraged by their doubt. Shadows writhed at the edges of their vision, and the sinister laughter crescendoed, hitting a deafening pitch. "Together, our truths become our strength," the dark-haired girl cried, her eyes wild with passion. "We can reshape this. We can fight back." As their voices melded together, echoing in defiance, a warm light burst forth from the center of their circle, illuminating the monstrous shadows cast around them. The cacophony shattered, replaced by a harmonious tone that rang out, resonating with the pulse of their hearts, but just as they felt themselves rising, shadows erupted again, more threatening, more furious. They plunged in closer, eager to drag them back to the dismal ridge of despair. He felt the instinctive urge to run. "What do we do?" he shouted above the noise of chaos. "What's next? This can't be the end. Stand firm. We've come this far. We've faced our fears." The golden-haired girl shouted, holding her fists against her heart, determination glowing back in her eyes. "Choose your truth," he proclaimed, feeling the crackling energy intensify. But just as they fortified their positions, a massive shadow surged forward, an embodiment of all their nightmares, a monstrous face looming. Gnashing its teeth in anger. "Face what was or be devoured," it growled, its voice dripping with malice. And in that moment, he wondered, were they truly prepared to confront the darkest forms of themselves, or would this be the very thing that led to their undoing? The room thickened with tension, and the answer hung heavily in the air, waiting to be uncovered. The darkness roared, an echoing thunder that shook the ground beneath them. Shadows wrapped around their legs, tendrils of despair that threatened to pull them under. The massive figure loomed, eyes glinting with an impossible hunger, its breath a rancid mist. "Face what was," it growled again, each word dripping with venom. He felt a cold sweat trickle down his spine. The haunting laughter that had filled the air moments before was now replaced by chilling silence, each of their heartbeats loud in their ears. "Now!" he shouted, the word bursting from his lips like a flare in the night. "We have to do this together. No hesitation." With spirits entwined, they stood shoulder to shoulder, their shared warmth creating a prison against the encroaching shadows. Memories clawed at him, each a bitter reminder of loss and pain. But now, he wasn't alone. They had come too far. "Remember your light," the golden-haired girl whispered, her voice strong despite the tremor. She squeezed his hand tightly. "I remember," the dark-haired girl replied, her teeth clenched with determination. "We rise from the ashes. We won't be scared anymore." The shadows loomed larger, angry, swirling menacingly around them. They transformed into echoes of what once was figures from their lives, faces etched with sorrow and rage. "Stop! You don't control us!" he yelled, the words igniting a flame inside him. It felt like a small spark in the face of the monstrous figure, but it was there. They were not just memories, they were pieces of who they had been and who they had fought to become. As if sensing their resolve, the shadow snarled and lunged forward. Time seemed to freeze. His heart pounded in his chest as he thought of every moment that had led him here, the fear, the doubt, the darkness that had always been a breath away. Then, they spoke as one. Together. Light shot from their clasped hands, cutting a path through the thick veil of darkness around them. It felt electric and hot, like the very heart of a sun. The shadows hissed, recoiling from the blaze of their collective truth. "Awaken!" the golden-haired girl shouted, her voice rising above the chaos, growing with power. "Take back what belongs to us." The very air shimmered and crackled, pushing against the oppressive weight of the dark figure. Light burst forth, enveloping them completely, weaving through their memories and fears, lifting them higher above the shadows. For a heartbeat the darkness faltered. But suddenly, the monster screamed, rage and despair mixing in a terrible symphony, crashing over them like a storm. "You can't escape. I am your past." He felt the ground shift beneath him as the figure reached out with clawed hands, each talon a dagger of despair. They stumbled back, fear tearing at the edge of their newfound strength, but he pressed closer, the warmth of the girl surrounding him like a shield. "Remember. We choose our truth," he proclaimed, voice ringing with conviction. The three of them stood together, the intensity of their bond rooting them firmly against the pull of darkness. The shadow lunged once more, but they volleyed their light forward, cutting through the gloom in a blinding flash. The air crackled with energy, warmth filling the room, like the first rays of dawn after an endless night. "Fight! We won!" to be devoured. The dark-haired girl screamed, now a battle cry reverberating through the stillness. Together, they formed a barrier of hope, one that seemed impenetrable but for a fleeting moment. But as they pushed against the darkness, he felt something shift, an underlying fear sneaking back into the edges of their consciousness. Would their combined light be enough to truly banish their nightmares? Could the shadows be defeated, or merely postponed? All at once, the ground quaked violently, sending them tumbling to their knees. The monstrous face reared back, howling in an inhuman frenzy. "Your light will fade," it bellowed, a siren of despair. And then, with a surge of confidence peeking through the chaos, he felt an unsettling sensation wash over him. Maybe this darkness wasn't solely about what they had faced, but what they had yet to understand about themselves. And as silence fell again, heavy and ominous, he realized there was a deeper truth to confront. Were they prepared to unveil the shadows lurking in their hearts? Would they discover the keys to truly liberate themselves, or would they fall deeper into the void? With the tendrils of anxiety stretching around them, he knew they would have to choose, and the clock was ticking. The battle within the darkness reached a fever pitch, swirling chaos clawing at their hearts as the echoes of the creature's rage battered against their resolve. But it was the silence that suddenly engulfed them that weighed heavier than any roar. Time itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting, watching. "Did we reach it?" he whispered, uncertainty gnawing at him. The golden-haired girl squeezed his hand tighter, her gaze unwavering. "We faced the creature together. We can't stop now." He looked at the dark-haired girl, her expression a fierce mixture of determination and fear. "We may have to dig deeper. Whatever this is, it's testing us." With a collective nod, they stepped forward, refining their purpose. Every beat of their hearts resonated, uniting them against the shadows, the whispers coiling around them like fog. They moved as one, light and darkness commingling with each step. The ground trembled beneath them, shifting, revealing a glimmering path, one that cut through the shadows like a knife. It twinkled with promise, beckoning them. "Let us stick together," he shouted, his voice echoing with renewed vigor. they advanced, emboldened by the flickers of light swaying around them, feeling the touch of memories shift into something else, something robust and grounding. All at once, figures emerged from the shadows, hazy and blurred. They were the faces of lost dreams and bitter regrets, but now hadn't the power to sway them. Instead, they became a tapestry, colors weaving together, forming an essence of every mistake, every struggle, the raw beauty of survival. "I remember them," said the dark-haired girl, tears glistening in her eyes. "We can't forget what we've been through. This is part of us. But it doesn't define us." The surrounding darkness recoiled, as if drawn back by their courage. "Face it. Embrace every ounce of it," shouted the golden-haired girl, forgetting her fear, her voice lifting like a song in the wind. The memories hummed with energy, shifting purpose within them. With each passing moment, they grew bolder, the comfort of unity weaving into a fabric of strength. Embracing their pain didn't mean becoming part of it, it meant transcending it. Then, behind them, a monstrous figure surged forward, a blur of dark swirling rage. "You can't escape." Each scream hurtled through their hearts, but the tighter they held hands, the stronger they became. "Together!" The soldier cried, a battle cry that radiated his determination, causing the air to pulse with hope. They pressed into the luminous energy that flowed from their connection. It felt larger than any fear, more powerful than any shadow. Together they focused their will, and as one, they lifted their arms, the light erupting around them in a tempest of glimmering sparks. "Awaken! Transform!" They shouted it as one, their voices a chorus leading a charge against the creature. As the light enveloped the darkness, the creature shuddered, its twisted form shriveling away. Its cries echoed like fading thunder until silence swept it away completely. Before them, the light expanded, cutting a path through the shadows. The landscape shifted, and they found themselves standing at the threshold of an expansive dawn, colors bursting like a cherry blossom. The rustling leaves whispered secrets of hope, and the weight on their hearts began to lift. They stood with spray of light dancing around them, casting away the shadows and illuminating the beauty of all they had overcome. The soldier turned to the girls, soft smiles blooming across their faces. "We did it." "You really think so?" the dark-haired girl asked, her voice still shimmering with the remnants of uncertainty. "Together, we fought. Together, we'll never forget," he said firmly, filled with a resolute warmth, "but we're free." The golden-haired girl beamed. "This is our renewal, a testament to our bond." As the sun pierced the horizon, warming their skin with breath of dawn, the woods whispered behind them a gentle reminder that even shadows can't endure if sewn into the fabric of unity and empowered truth. They were not just survivors, they had become warriors of light. Moving forward, firmly together, they stepped into the dawn, hands clasped, hearts thrumming as one. Together, they would embrace whatever came next. This was their new beginning, unshadowed and full of hope, and so, their story turned a new page. Don't wait one more second, you need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will definitely excite and inspire you. Smash that like button now, and let's feed that algorithm so everyone can join our community. And flood the comments section with your reactions, your theories about the ending, or the amazing moments you loved. If this journey has touched you, you must instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Show your support because true fans know the importance of staying connected.